The morning sun over Seoul suddenly disappeared as massive shadows swept across the city. Admiral Kim Tae pressed his face against the reinforced glass of the defense center, watching in grim fascination as alien warships the size of mountains blotted out the sky. Their hulls gleamed with an otherworldly metal that seemed to absorb light itself, and strange energy patterns pulsed along their surfaces like veins of liquid fire. "Sir, we're getting readings from every major city on Earth," Lieutenant Lee Bo called out, his voice tight with controlled fear. "They're everywhere. London, New York, Tokyo, Moscow, the same formations." Tae nodded, his weathered hands steady despite the magnitude of what they were witnessing. He'd been expecting this day for 20 years, ever since the first alien probe had been detected near Jupiter. Most people thought it was just another asteroid. Tae knew better. The communications array crackled to life, and a voice that sounded like grinding metal mixed with the screech of tearing steel filled the command center. The alien words were harsh and guttural, but the translation software quickly converted them into chilling clarity. "Primitive species of the third planet," the voice boomed. "I am Speaker Vorthak of the Galactic Council. Your kind has been evaluated, tested, and found suitable for manual labor. You will surrender your weapons, dismantle your governments, and prepare for transport to designated work zones throughout our territory." Lieutenant Lee Bo's hand trembled as he adjusted the communication controls. "Sir, President Park So-min is on the line from the Blue House. She's requesting immediate briefing on our defense capabilities." Tae smiled grimly, an expression that would have chilled any enemy who knew what it meant. The aliens had no idea what they'd just awakened. For decades, Dr. Yoon-hai had been working in absolute secrecy, preparing humanity's true defenses. While the world focused on Earth-based military, she had been building something far more ambitious among the outer planets, where alien scouts never bothered to look. The massive alien ship directly above Seoul began to descend, its hull casting the entire city into an eerie twilight. Strange mechanical sounds echoed from its belly as deployment bays opened, revealing smaller craft that looked like metallic beetles with glowing red eyes. These scout ships began patrolling the streets, their energy beams scanning buildings and people below. "The Council has spoken," Speaker Vorthak continued, his insectoid form now visible on the main screen as a towering creature with multiple arms and compound eyes that reflected a cold, calculating intelligence. "You have 72 of your hours to comply. Resistance will result in the complete sterilization of your planet. Your species will serve the greater galactic order, as is proper for all inferior races." Civilians ran through the streets below, some pointing at the sky in terror, others simply standing frozen in disbelief. But Tae noticed something else. In certain buildings, lights were flashing in specific patterns, signal codes. The network was already responding. Deep beneath the streets of Busan, 300 kilometers away, Dr. Choi Na sat surrounded by banks of quantum computers that hummed with barely contained energy. Her fingers flew across holographic interfaces that would have seemed like magic to anyone from just 50 years ago. She'd spent the last 15 years of her life preparing for this exact moment. "Phase 1 is ready, Admiral," she reported through the encrypted channel, her voice steady despite the magnitude of what she was about to unleash. "All outer system assets are online and waiting for your command." Tae looked up at the alien ships, his smile growing wider. These creatures thought they were dealing with a primitive world, stuck in its own solar system, with crude chemical rockets and nuclear weapons. They had no idea that humanity had been playing a much longer game. The truth was hidden in plain sight, scattered across a dozen moons and asteroids where human engineers had been working for decades. What looked like mining stations and research outposts were actually construction facilities, building weapons and ships with technology that Earth officially didn't possess. Technology that had been reverse-engineered from every alien artifact humanity had ever secretly recovered. "Tell the President we're moving to Condition Alpha," Tae ordered, his voice carrying the weight of years of preparation. "And get me a direct line to Dr. Yoon-hae on Titan Station. It's time to show these invaders what happens when you threaten the wrong species." Above them, the alien ships continued their ominous patrol, completely unaware that their movements were being tracked by sensors they couldn't detect, and that deep in the outer solar system, something was stirring that would change the balance of galactic power forever. The age of human submission was over before it had even begun. Captain Yang Min held his breath as his stealth fighter drifted silently in Europa's shadow. The ice. Moon's frozen surface reflecting starlight like a mirror. His ship was barely the size of a bus, painted matte black and equipped with technology that made it invisible to most scanning systems. Through his cockpit window, he watched the alien enforcement fleet approaching Jupiter's orbit with the slow, deliberate confidence of predators who had never faced real opposition. The enemy dreadnoughts were massive beyond imagination. Each, one stretched for kilometers, their hulls bristling with weapon ports that could turn a planet's surface into molten glass. Strange blue energy coursed along their sides like glowing rivers, and smaller escort ships darted around them like metallic fish swimming alongside whales. The aliens had brought enough firepower to conquer a dozen star systems. "Contact in 30 seconds, whispered Lieutenant Park Jun from the fighter beside him. "These things are bigger than anything in our database." Jiang Min adjusted his grip. On the controls, feeling the familiar weight of his neural interface helmet. The fighter's systems responded to his thoughts as much as his hands, a fusion of human intuition and alien technology that had taken years to perfect. Below them, Europa's surface held secrets the invaders would never discover. Massive factories buried beneath the ice had been working around the clock, building weapons that shouldn't exist. Commander Song Ye's voice crackled through the quantum communication network from her hidden command center deep inside Mars. The facility had been disguised as a mining operation for 15 years, but its true purpose was far more ambitious. Banks of supercomputers processed battle data, while holographic displays showed the positions of every human asset in the solar system. "All units, this is Commander Song Ye. The enemy fleet has entered our trap zone. Engage Protocol 7, she ordered, her voice carrying the weight of humanity's survival. "Remember, they think we're primitives with chemical rockets. Let's teach them the price of underestimating Earth." The moment had arrived. Jiang Min felt his fighter's engines surge to life with a barely audible hum. Around Jupiter's moons, dozens of other stealth ships emerged from hiding spots that had been prepared for decades. Some had been waiting behind asteroids, others had been drifting in the gas giant's radiation belt where alien sensors couldn't penetrate. The alien fleet commander, a creature called Warmaster Zethrix, sat in his command throne aboard the lead dreadnought. His multiple eyes studied the tactical displays with bored efficiency. In 3,000 years of conquest, he had crushed over 50 civilizations. None had ever offered more than token resistance before begging for mercy. "Begin planetary bombardment." "Preparation," he ordered in a voice like grinding stone. "These humans will learn to submit like all the others." That's when the first missiles struck. Jiang Min's fighter launched a barrage of plasma torpedoes that sliced through space like streaks of white lightning. The weapons had been designed using stolen alien technology, but human engineers had improved them beyond recognition. Instead of the simple energy blasts the aliens expected, these missiles carried quantum warheads that could punch through shields that had protected alien fleets for millennia. The lead dreadnought's shields flared, and Dida's 3 torpedoes found their mark. Secondary explosions rippled along its hull as internal systems overloaded. Alarms screamed through the alien ship as Warmaster Zethrix stared in disbelief at his damage reports. "Impossible!" he roared. "These primitives shouldn't possess such weapons." But the surprise was just beginning. Human fighters swarmed out from every direction, moving with coordinated precision that spoke of years of training. They darted between the massive alien ships like angry wasps, their weapons finding weak points that shouldn't have been known to anyone outside the Galactic Council's most secret archives. From her command center on Mars, Commander Song Ye watched the battle unfold with grim satisfaction. Her screens showed real-time tactical data, streaming from sensors hidden throughout the outer solar system. Every alien ship movement was tracked, every weapon signature analyzed and countered. "Target. They're shield generators," she commanded. "Hit them where it hurts most." On Earth, General Odar stood in the Seoul Defense Center, watching streams of data from the Jupiter engagement. His weathered face showed no emotion as alien dreadnoughts began to burn in the void. Behind him, his staff worked frantically to coordinate ground defenses, while monitoring the space battle that would determine humanity's fate. The massive alien ships above Earth's cities suddenly began receiving frantic communications from their fleet commander. War Master Zethrix's voice, previously so confident, now carried notes of panic and confusion. "Ground forces, we are under attack by unknown human vessels. Their technology exceeds our intelligence estimates. Request immediate tactical analysis. General." Hodar smiled coldly as he watched another alien dreadnought explode on his display screen. The blast lit up Jupiter's moons like a second sun, debris scattering in all directions. "They wanted slaves," he muttered, his voice carrying the satisfaction of a plan 20 years in the making. They found wolves instead. The first phase of humanity's counterattack had begun, and the galaxy would never be the same. Dr. Quan Su's fingers danced across the holographic interface as streams of alien data flowed around her like digital waterfalls. The captured information from the destroyed dreadnoughts contained centuries of Galactic Council secrets, military protocols, and technological blueprints that had taken alien civilizations thousands of years to develop. Her laboratory beneath Sol hummed with quantum processors, working at maximum capacity, analyzing every byte of stolen knowledge. "This is incredible," she whispered to her assistant, Dr. Li Wan, who was monitoring the data streams. "Their fusion reactors are based on principles we figured out 50 years ago, but they never thought to combine them with quantum field manipulation. Look at this." She gestured to a three-dimensional model of an alien power core that rotated slowly in the air between them. With a few quick movements, she modified the design, adding human innovations that doubled its efficiency while reducing its size by half. "Ma'am, Engineer Park J is requesting priority access to the propulsion data," Li Wan reported. "He says he's found something that could change everything." 3 levels down, Engineer Park J stood before a captured alien engine that his team had carefully extracted from a damaged escort ship. The massive device filled half the laboratory, its crystalline components still glowing with residual energy. What fascinated him wasn't just how it worked, but how limited the aliens' thinking had become over millennia of tradition. "They've been using the same basic design for over 2,000 years, he explained to his engineering team through the communication system. "No innovation, no experimentation. They found something that worked and never bothered to improve." Said? His hands moved rapidly over his workstation as he began redesigning the alien drive system from scratch. Where the aliens used crude magnetic containment, he substituted human-developed plasma field generators. Where they relied on heavy crystalline matrices, he introduced lightweight composite materials that Earth scientists had perfected decades earlier. "Sir, this new design should increase their travel speeds by 300%, reported Engineer Kim. So his excitement barely contained. "We could build ships that move faster than anything in their fleet." The transformation was happening across dozens of research facilities hidden throughout the solar system. What had taken alien species millennia to develop, humans were perfecting and improving in mere months. The key wasn't just human intelligence, but something the aliens had lost long ago: the ability to think differently. Dr. Quan Su presented her findings to the Emergency War Council through secure holographic link. President Park So-min, Admiral Kim Tae, and the other military leaders listened intently as she explained humanity's unexpected advantage. "Their weakness is their rigid thinking," Su explained, gesturing to comparative charts that showed alien versus human innovation rates. "Every species in the Galactic Council follows the same patterns. They develop technology to a certain point, then stop improving it. They can't adapt like we can." "What do you mean exactly?" asked Admiral Kim Tae, leaning forward with interest. "They're like a civilization that invented the wheel and then spent the next 1,000 years making exactly the same wheel, over and over again. Meanwhile, we took their wheel design and invented cars, trains, and aircraft. They see technology as fixed. We see it as a starting point. While Earth scientists dismantled alien technology piece by piece, humanity's intelligence operatives were working a different kind of magic across the galaxy. Colonel Han Mi had spent 3 years preparing for this moment, building an identity as a trader on the Vrex homeworld, one of the Galactic Council's most powerful military species. The Vrex were 7-foot-tall reptilian warriors with honor-based culture that prized strength above all else. Their warrior caste had served the Council faithfully for centuries, believing they were part of a noble galactic order. Colonel Han Mi was about to shatter that belief. In a dimly lit tavern on the Vrex capital world, she sat across from Commander Thekova, one of their most respected military leaders. The massive reptilian warrior's scales gleamed in the artificial light as he studied the data pad she had slipped him. "This cannot be accurate," he hissed, his forked tongue flicking out nervously. "The Council would not deceive us about the distribution of conquered resources." "Look at the numbers yourself," Hanmi replied calmly, her voice perfectly modulated to sound like just another concerned trader. "Your warriors do the fighting and dying, while the inner Council species take 90% of the wealth from conquered worlds. The Vrex get table scraps." The data she'd provided was completely accurate, extracted from the captured Council databases. It showed decades of financial records proving that the Vrex, despite being the Council's primary military force, received almost nothing from their conquests, while softer species grew rich from their sacrifice. Meanwhile, on the other side of the galaxy, Agent Xin Yu was having similar conversations with representatives of oppressed species. The Kethmar, forced to serve as miners on toxic worlds. The gentle Silurians, whose peaceful nature had made them perfect administrators but permanent servants. The proud Vakari, whose homeworld had been strip-mined to fuel Council expansion. Humans offer something the Council never has, Xin Yu explained to a gathering of underground resistance leaders through encrypted channels. True partnership, equal sharing of resources, the freedom to govern your own worlds. Her words spread like wildfire through the galactic underground. Species that had endured centuries of servitude began to whisper about a new possibility. The humans weren't just fighting for their own freedom, they were offering liberation to everyone. Back on Earth, General O'Da reviewed intelligence reports that showed the Council's growing internal problems. Entire sectors were reporting equipment failures as Vrex maintenance crews began subtle sabotage. Mining operations slowed as oppressed workers staged careful work slowdowns. The galaxy's most efficient military machine was beginning to tear itself apart from within. "The aliens' greatest mistake was underestimating human psychology," he reported to the War Council. "Every species they'd enslaved before simply submitted when faced with overwhelming force. But humans turned slavery into a declaration of war, and now we're teaching the galaxy that resistance is possible." The tide was beginning to turn, not just through superior technology, but through something far more powerful: hope. The ancient Galactic Council chambers on Nexus Prime had witnessed the rise and fall of civilizations for over 10,000 years. Its crystalline walls had echoed with the voices of species declaring war, signing treaties and dividing up conquered worlds among the 12 ruling races. But today those same walls trembled with something the Council had never experienced before: genuine fear. Admiral Cho Wan's liberation fleet emerged from hyperspace like a swarm of silver daggers, their sleek forms cutting through the void with deadly precision. The ships bore little resemblance to the crude vessels Earth had possessed just 2 years earlier. These were hybrids of human innovation and captured alien technology, improved beyond recognition by minds that refused to accept limitations. "Council Defense Command, this is Admiral Cho Wan of the Human Liberation Fleet." His voice boomed through every communication channel in the system. "You have exactly 1 hour to surrender unconditionally. Any hostile action will be met with immediate retaliation." Inside the Council chambers, panic spread like wildfire among the remaining representatives. The great circular hall, once filled with 12 proud species, now held barely half that number. Empty seats marked the positions of races that had already switched sides, abandoning their former masters to join humanity's growing coalition. High Chancellor Vextar of the Zephyrian Empire, his bird-like features twisted with rage and disbelief, slammed his taloned fist against his speaking podium. His species had ruled the galactic core for 3 millennia, crushing opposition with ruthless efficiency. The idea that primitive humans could threaten their empire seemed impossible. "How did this happen?" he shrieked, his voice echoing through the chamber. "Our intelligence reported that Earth barely possessed spaceflight capability 2 years ago. How did primitives defeat our armadas? The answer came from an unexpected source. Dr. Ryu Jin materialized in the center of the chamber as a holographic projection, her calm presence a stark contrast to the chaos surrounding her. She had once been a simple xenobiologist studying alien cultures. Now she served as Earth's chief diplomat, carrying the hopes of 1,000 liberated worlds. "Honorable council members," she began, her voice steady and clear, "you made one critical error in your calculations. You thought strength meant domination. We learned it means protection." The remaining council members stared at her in stunned silence. Behind her holographic form, tactical displays showed the reality of their situation. Red indicators marked the positions of surrendering council fleets throughout the galaxy. Green markers showed liberated worlds declaring independence under human protection. The map that had once shown total council dominance now resembled a patchwork of rebellion. Supreme Admiral Kethmore of the Draconian Fleet, his reptilian features scarred from countless battles, leaned forward in his throne-like chair. His species had served as the Council's primary enforcers for centuries, believing in their cause with religious devotion. "You speak of protection," he hissed, his forked tongue flickering with agitation. "Yet your fleets burn our ships and destroy our stations. How is this different from conquest?" Dr. Ryujin's expression remained calm as she gestured to the tactical displays. "Look at your own data, Admiral. Every world we've liberated remains free to govern itself. Every species we've allied with keeps their resources and culture intact. We don't demand tribute or enforce servitude. We offer partnership." The truth of her words was undeniable. Intelligence reports from across the galaxy confirmed that human-liberated worlds were experiencing unprecedented prosperity. Former slave species were rebuilding their civilizations, sharing technology freely, and contributing to the coalition not from fear, but from genuine gratitude. On the mining world of Kepler 442b, the insectoid hive tar had spent 3 centuries extracting precious metals for council coffers while their own colonies starved. Now working alongside human engineers, they had developed new extraction techniques that tripled their efficiency while healing their damaged ecosystem. Half the resources went to their own development, while the other half supported the liberation fleet voluntarily. Similar stories played out across hundreds of worlds. The gentle aquatic Selenians, once forced to process toxic chemicals that poisoned their water worlds, now used human-designed filtration systems to clean their oceans while producing advanced materials for the coalition. The proud warrior culture of the Vrex had discovered that fighting for liberation felt far more honorable than enforcing slavery. Captain Park Do, commanding the flagship of humanity's second fleet, watched through his bridge windows as another council dreadnought powered down its weapons and transmitted surrender codes. The massive vessel, once capable of glassing entire continents, now drifted helplessly as its crew faced the reality of their situation. "Sir, we're receiving surrender transmissions from the entire Outer Rim Defense Force," reported Lieutenant Ko Min from the communications station. "They're requesting safe passage to neutral territory." "Granted," Park Do replied without hesitation. "Escort them to the designated coordinates and provide humanitarian aid if needed. Make sure their crews understand they're free to join the coalition or return to their homeworlds as they choose." This approach had become humanity's signature strategy. Instead of crushing defeated enemies, they offered choices. Instead of demanding submission, they proposed cooperation. It was a concept so foreign to galactic politics that many species initially viewed it with suspicion, waiting for the hidden trap that never came. Back in the council chambers, the remaining representatives watched their empire crumble in real time. Communications from across the galaxy brought news of fleet surrenders, world liberations, and species declaring independence. The 1,000-year reign of the Galactic Council was ending, not with a final battle, but with a complete collapse of authority. High Chancellor Vextar's wings drooped as he finally understood the magnitude of their defeat. What do you want from us?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Dr. Ryujin's holographic form stepped closer to the central podium, her expression showing neither triumph nor cruelty, only sad determination. "We want you to remember this moment," she said quietly. What began as humanity's enslavement became the liberation of 1,000 worlds. The galaxy will never again bow to those who mistake cruelty for strength. The age of domination was over. The age of cooperation had begun. The once magnificent council chambers lay in ruins, their crystalline walls cracked and darkened by the energy discharges of the final battle. Debris from shattered ceremonial statues littered the floor where the galaxy's most powerful beings had once sat in judgment over countless worlds. The 12 golden thrones that had symbolized absolute authority for millennia now stood empty and broken, their occupants huddled together in the center of the destroyed hall like frightened children. Admiral Kim Tae walked slowly through the wreckage, his boots crunching on fragments of alien crystal and twisted metal. Behind him, honor guards from a dozen liberated species stood at attention, their varied forms representing the new coalition that had risen from the ashes of the old order. Vrex warriors stood beside gentle Selenian diplomats, while Hivtar engineers worked alongside human technicians to document the Council's archives. The surviving Council members knelt in a pathetic circle, their once proud forms bent in submission. High Chancellor Vextar's magnificent feathers were dulled and broken, his taloned hands trembling as he stared at the floor. Supreme Admiral Kethmore's reptilian scales had lost their lustrous sheen, and his powerful tail curled around him like a shield against shame. These beings had commanded fleets that could destroy star systems, yet now they cowered before creatures they had dismissed as primitives just 5 years earlier. "Look at them," whispered Commander Song Ye, standing beside Admiral Kim Tae. 2 years ago they were debating how best to work us to death in their minds. Now they can't even meet our eyes. Kim Tae nodded grimly. The transformation was complete, but the victory felt hollow. Too many lives had been lost, too many worlds had burned before the Council finally understood that their reign of terror was over. The cost of their arrogance had been measured in the suffering of billions. President Park So-min's holographic form materialized above the kneeling Council members, her image projected from Earth's new orbital capital station. The massive structure, built from salvaged Council technology and human innovation, served as the headquarters for the Galactic Liberation Force. Its gleaming hull reflected the light of distant stars as it orbited humanity's homeworld, a symbol of how far they had come. Former Council members, President Park's voice echoed through the ruined chamber, carrying the weight of absolute authority. You stand accused of crimes against countless civilizations, slavery, genocide, resource theft, and the systematic oppression of entire species across 10,000 years. The accused beings flinched at each word, their alien features contorting with emotions ranging from shame to desperate fear. Emperor Zixthul of the Silicon Collective, his crystalline body dim with defeated energy, spoke in a voice like grinding glass. We followed the old ways," he pleaded. "The strong ruled the weak. It was natural order." Natural order. President Park's tone carried a cold edge that made even the human observers shiver. "You call slavery natural? You call genocide order? Your natural order was built on the suffering of trillions." Behind the holographic president, tactical displays showed the current state of the galaxy. Green indicators marked over 3,000 worlds that had declared independence and joined the Liberation Coalition. Blue markers showed former Council territories that were being rebuilt with human assistance. Only a handful of red dots remained, marking the few Council holdouts still resisting in the outer rim. "However," President Park continued, her expression softening slightly, "humanity believes in redemption. You have a choice. Join our new republic as equals, contributing to the welfare of all species, or face exile to the outer rim where you can contemplate your crimes in isolation." The offer sent shockwaves through the kneeling Council members. In their entire history of conquest, no victorious species had ever offered defeated enemies anything other than death or slavery. The concept of mercy from those they had wronged was beyond their understanding. High Chancellor Vextar raised his head slowly, his bird-like eyes wide with disbelief. "You would trust us, after what we attempted to do to your species?" Admiral Kim Tae stepped forward, his weathered face showing the strain of years of warfare. "Trust must be earned," he said quietly, "but we believe in second chances. Your fleets are destroyed, your authority is broken, but your knowledge and experience could help rebuild what you helped destroy." The former council leaders looked at each other with confusion and desperate hope. Emperor Zixthul's crystalline form began to glow faintly as his energy levels rose with renewed purpose. Supreme Admiral Kethmore's scales slowly regained some of their natural color as he processed the incredible offer. "The alternative," President Park added, her voice returning to its stern tone, "is permanent exile to the Andromeda Void. You would be provided with basic supplies and left to build whatever civilization you choose, but you would never again be permitted contact with the civilized galaxy." The silence stretched for long minutes as the former rulers of half the galaxy contemplated their fate. Finally, High Chancellor Vextar spoke, his voice barely above a whisper. We submit to human authority," he said, his proud head bowing even lower. "We accept your mercy and pledge our service to the new republic." One by one, the other council members echoed his words, their voices carrying centuries of defeated pride. The beings who had once decreed humanity's enslavement now bent the knee to the species they had tried to destroy. Far across the galaxy, Dr. Choi Na smiled as she watched the ceremony through her laboratory's viewing screens. Her new research station orbited Proxima Centauri, a massive facility where scientists from hundreds of species worked together to develop technologies that would benefit everyone. The station itself was a marvel of cooperative engineering, combining the best innovations from across the galaxy. 5 years, she murmured to her assistant, Dr. Yang Qi, as they watched former enemies pledge allegiance to their former intended victims. 5 years ago, we were facing slavery and extinction. Now we're teaching the galaxy what cooperation really means. Around them, the research facility hummed with activity as teams of humans, Vrex, Selenians, and dozens of other species worked side by side. Projects that would have taken centuries for any single civilization were being completed in months through shared knowledge and collaborative effort. The transformation was visible throughout the galaxy. Former slave worlds were becoming centers of learning and culture. Oppressed species were rediscovering their heritage while contributing to the greater good. The harsh divisions that had characterized galactic politics for millennia were giving way to unprecedented cooperation. On the bridge of humanity's flagship, Captain Park Do watched as the last council holdouts transmitted their surrender. The final red dots on the tactical display turned green as the age of domination finally came to an end. "All stations report secure, sir," announced Lieutenant Ko Min. "The galaxy is at peace for the first time in recorded history." Park Do nodded, feeling the weight of responsibility settle on his shoulders. Humanity had gone from potential slaves to galactic liberators in less than 5 years, but the real work was just beginning. Building a lasting peace would be far more challenging than winning the war. The age of alien dominance was over. The age of human compassion had begun, and with it, hope for a future where strength meant protection, where power served justice, and where no species would ever again kneel in chains. The end.